Hello, this is the ramblings of an Undisciplined Mind podcast for Thursday, May 19th, 2016. As of this recording, Sierra is still missing. So there was a time, a little while back, where I posted, it was one of these things on Facebook where they here's a memory, and it was a picture that I had posted probably from 5 years ago, where I had taken all my manuscripts and lined them up. So I had all the copies of Borrowed Time, I think it was, and The Gorilla Poet, and Stolen Time. And then there was, they were like in very, so like the Borrowed Time was probably, a foot and a half tall. Gorilla Poet was probably a foot, maybe, and Stolen Time was a little bit shorter than that. And then there was a Secret Project, which was obviously short stories. It was like yay tall. I think it was the short story that became the inspiration for Kilo Rising, I think, but don't 100% quote me on that. And I thought it was interesting because when I reposted it, because I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. The whole printing it out and doing the editing. It's probably, in a sense, it's my preferred method of doing that, because it's my preferred thing to read on paper, to do that kind of editing. But it's also kind of annoying because, you mark it all down on paper, and then I've got to go update it on the computer. And it just feels like a double dip. Plus, you were using, 2 inches of paper every time I print a manuscript out. So it doesn't seem like a really good use of resources there, between paper and toner for our laser printers and all this nonsense. So I've kind of, especially since I've started using Scrivener, and other things, I've kind of thought about, well, it's time to get away from printing all these things out and just make the changes on the computer, edit on the computer. So that's, kind of what I've been doing. I've also felt that if I'm reading for comprehension, I do better with printed materials instead of e-materials. So that's why, in a lot of cases, I wouldn't get an e-book for a textbook when I was doing my courses. Now, sometimes the e-books would be more expensive, so really I kind of went with what was cheapest, and most of the time that would be like renting a book, a paper book. But I did feel that comprehension was better. Now I've kind of had to learn how, learn to read stuff online and read for comprehension. I don't know what it was, but I just never really felt like, my eyes were, I just never felt like I was getting a deeper level of comprehension. I feel like I'm doing better at that now than I used to be. And what, I ran into a study last week, and I was sure I saved the link, and I cannot find it today. I looked several times today, and I cannot find it. But there was a study that somebody posted where somebody had studied this, and they found that there is greater comprehension typically for somebody who is reading on paper versus reading on digital. Now, I think it'd be interesting to see what the age component is, because I kind of have a feeling that for younger generations, like millennials and whoever the heck comes after millennials, that didn't grow up reading paper necessarily, at least not as much. I'm curious if it would be the same thing, or if it would mainly be in older people like myself, or if it's more universal. on paper typically tends to stick with you longer than reading something on a digital medium. Now, I will say I've got zero problem reading fiction on ebook. I've done quite a lot of that, and I don't feel like I'm missing things, and I've enjoyed it greatly. I'm kind of taking a hiatus from that because I'm getting books from the library right now, and part of that's because it's a lot more convenient to do so since I got my LASIK. Part of the reason I was starting to go more toward ebooks was because the eyesight was getting worse and worse, and so I wanted something where I could be adjusting the text size. And now that's it's not that big a deal. I don't need to wear readers while I read, and so being able to read something with smaller print on a printed page is not as big of a pain in the arse as it used to be, and it's just fine. So, but like right now, I am reading Stephen Covey's 7 Habits book that I talk about occasionally on my Kindle app on my Android tablet. So I am doing, and I'm reading there for comprehension. One of the things that I'm doing, and I don't know that it's helping me all that much as far as from a quiz perspective, as far as giving me something to look up, is I am taking notes as I'm doing the reading, and I feel like that's forcing me to really be paying attention to what it is I'm reading. And the act of writing the key concepts down, I think, reinforces them in my brain. And maybe that's part of the reason that I feel like I'm getting better comprehension these days when I'm reading something like that I need to integrate that information into my brain for purposes of quizzes and whatnot. But what do you think? I mean, if you are one of my 2 people listening to this thing, do you prefer paper? Do you prefer digital? Does it matter to you, do you think? Is it all the same to you? I'd be interested to hear what your comments are, and then I'll read it in a upcoming comment feedback show. So that was really all I was thinking about today. I think I will let that be that, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow. So, be seeing you.